We called for help in the galaxy. Only Earth came. The explosion shook the walls of the mining facility. Minji pressed herself against the cold metal floor as debris rained down from the ceiling. Through the thick smoke, she could hear screaming. The colonists were running in every direction, trying to find shelter from the attack that came without warning. She crawled toward the communications room, her hands shaking. As a diplomat for the Volani Coalition, she had spent 3 years on Vareth Prime helping coordinate trade between the mining colony and the 7 species that made up their alliance. It was supposed to be a peaceful assignment. The colony sat far from any conflict zones, extracting rare minerals that powered faster than light engines. Nothing important enough to attack. Or so everyone thought. The door to the communications room hung off its hinges. Inside, 2 technicians lay motionless. Minji tried not to look at them as she stumbled to the main console. Her fingers moved across the controls, bringing up the emergency broadcast system. Through the window, she could see the sky burning. Ships hung in orbit like dark insects, raining fire on the colony below. These were not ordinary pirates. Their vessels were massive, equipped with military-grade weapons that tore through the colony's defenses in minutes. She activated every frequency she knew. Her voice cracked as she spoke into the transmitter. "This is Vareth Prime Colony. We are under attack by hostile forces, requesting immediate assistance. Repeat, this is an emergency distress call. We have approximately 8,000 colonists. Defenses are destroyed. We need help. Please, anyone who can hear this." Minji sent the coordinates, the tactical situation, and a recording of the attacking ships. She transmitted on every channel used by the Coalition, every frequency registered with the Galactic Council, every emergency band that connected the civilized species of known space. Then she waited. Hours passed in the darkness of the shelter beneath the facility. The attacks continued above. She could hear the rumble of explosions, the screech of metal being torn apart. Other survivors gathered in the shelter. Families held each other. Engineers tried to patch into the security systems to see what was happening outside. What they saw made everyone fall silent. The attackers called themselves the Crimson Reavers. They were not just stealing supplies. They were rounding up colonists, forcing them into transport ships. Those who resisted were shot. The Reavers moved through the colony with brutal efficiency, destroying anything they could not take. Their leader broadcast a message on all frequencies, declaring that Vareth Prime now belonged to them. Anyone who interfered would face the same fate. Minji checked her communications console obsessively. Responses started coming in on the 2nd day. The Volani home government sent a message expressing deep concern and promising to bring the matter before the Coalition Council. The Theris Empire, one of the 7 member species, replied that they were investigating legal options for intervention. The Corthan Assembly suggested forming a committee to study the situation, but no ships came. On the 3rd day, the Coalition Council held an emergency session. Minji listened to the broadcast in disbelief. The representatives debated jurisdiction. They argued about resource allocation. Some pointed out that Vareth Prime was technically in unclaimed space, which complicated military response. Others worried that intervening might provoke whoever was backing the Reavers. The weapons and ships these pirates used were too expensive for simple criminals. Someone powerful was funding them. The debate continued for hours. In the end, the council passed a resolution condemning the attack and promising to coordinate a response once all proper procedures were followed. They estimated it would take 6 weeks to assemble an appropriate task force. 6 weeks. Minji looked around the shelter at the frightened faces. Many of the colonists were injured. Food was running low. Above them, the Reavers were enslaving their friends and destroying everything they had built. 6 weeks might as well be forever. She sent another distress call. This time her message was more desperate. She begged. She pleaded. She sent the call to species outside the Coalition, to independent worlds, to anyone who might listen. Most did not even respond. A few sent sympathetic messages but explained they could not afford to antagonize the Reavers or risk their own security. The galaxy had abandoned them. On the 6th day, something changed. Minji was half asleep at the communications console when a new signal appeared. It was coming through on a frequency she did not recognize. The format was strange, almost primitive. Narrow-band radio transmission. the kind of technology most species had stopped using centuries ago when they developed quantum communication networks. She activated the translation matrix and listened. The voice was speaking a language she had never heard. The matrix worked slowly, piecing together meaning from context and mathematical patterns. Finally, words appeared on her screen. Varath Prime, this is the USNS Indomitable of the Earth Space Navy. We received your distress call. Help is on the way. Hold on. Earth. Minji searched her database with trembling fingers. The entry was brief. Earth was a small world on the far edge of explored space. Its dominant species, humans, had only achieved faster-than-light travel about 40 years ago. They had provisional trade status with the Galactic Council, but no formal alliances. Their technology was considered primitive by galactic standards. They were barely more advanced than species still confined to their own star systems. She checked the distribution list for her distress calls. Earth was not on it. They should not have even received her message. Somehow they must have intercepted it. But why would they respond? They had no connection to the coalition, no treaties that obligated them to help, no political reason to risk their ships. Minji composed a careful reply, thanking them but explaining the situation. She described the Reaver fleet, the size and capability of their warships, the danger of engaging them. She did not want these humans to die for nothing. Whatever ship they were sending would not be enough. The Reavers had 23 military vessels in orbit. One ship from a primitive species could not possibly make a difference. The response came back quickly. Understood, Varath Prime, we are not sending one ship. Fleet composition: 12 vessels including destroyers, frigates, 1 heavy cruiser, and 1 carrier. Estimated arrival: 21 days. Keep your people safe until then. Indomitable out, 12 ships. Minji stared at the message. 12 ships from a species that barely knew how to navigate the galaxy were coming to fight a battle that advanced military powers had refused. She did not know whether to feel hope or horror. These humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Probably both, she told the others in the shelter. Some cried with relief. Others looked skeptical. One engineer pulled up information about Earth military capabilities. The reports were not encouraging. Human ships were slow and bulky compared to coalition designs. Their weapons were outdated. They still used kinetic projectiles alongside energy weapons, a sign of primitive military development. But they were coming. When the entire galaxy had turned away, when every advanced species had found reasons to stay home, these humans were crossing the stars to help strangers. Minji downloaded everything she could find about Earth and its people. She wanted to understand who they were. What she found confused her more. Humans had a violent history. They had nearly destroyed themselves in countless wars. Yet here they were, rushing toward another war to save people they had never met. The days crawled by. Above, the Reavers continued their work, stripping the colony of everything valuable. They had not found the main shelter yet, but it was only a matter of time. Minji kept the channel open, listening for any sign of the Earth fleet. 21 days felt like a lifetime. She wondered if these humans would arrive at all, and if they did, what would she be asking them to die for? We called for help in the galaxy. Only Earth came. The sensor alert woke everyone in the shelter. Minji rushed to the communications console, her heart pounding. After 23 days of waiting, something was finally happening. The colony's damaged sensors were detecting spatial distortions at the edge of the system. Ships were arriving. She pulled up what was left of the orbital tracking system. The screen filled with contact markers. One ship appeared, then another, then more. Minji counted them as they emerged from faster-than-light travel. 12 ships, exactly as the human captain had promised. They were here. The Reavers noticed immediately. Their communications channels lit up with confused chatter. Minji listened through the shelter's hacked connection. The pirate commander was demanding to know who these newcomers were. His tone shifted from annoyed to cautious. 12 warships was not something to ignore. The human fleet arranged itself in a formation that looked strange to Minji's eyes. They did not spread out the way coalition ships would. Instead, they formed a wall, advancing together like soldiers marching in a line. 4 smaller ships led the way, followed by 6 medium-sized vessels. Behind them came a large cruiser and an even larger carrier. The carrier was massive, bigger than anything the Reavers had. A transmission came through on the open channel. A human voice, calm and steady, speaking in clear galactic standard language. "This is Captain Doyen of the Earth Space Navy, commanding the USNS Indomitable. To the vessels occupying Varith Prime, you are in violation of interstellar law. Release the colonists immediately and withdraw your forces. You have 1 hour to comply." The shelter fell silent. Everyone was listening. Minji found herself holding her breath. The human captain sounded so confident, so certain. She pulled up information on the Indomitable. It was the large cruiser, moving in the center of the formation. The database had limited information about Earth military ships, but what she found was not impressive. The Indomitable was heavily armored but slow. Its weapons were a mix of energy cannons and something called railguns, which fired physical projectiles. Ancient technology. The Reaver commander's response came through with a laugh. "Earth, never heard of you. This system belongs to us now. Leave while you still can, or we will add your ships to our collection." Minji watched the human fleet. They did not slow down. They did not change course. They kept advancing, closing the distance between themselves and the Reaver forces in orbit. Another transmission from Captain Doyen. "Your hour begins now. I suggest you use it wisely." The tension in the shelter was unbearable. Some colonists were praying. Others watched the screens in silence. The engineer next to Minji was running calculations, trying to predict the outcome of a battle. The numbers were not good. The Reavers had 23 warships. They had more guns, more missiles, more experience. The human fleet was outnumbered almost 2-1. Minji thought about sending a message to the Earth ships, warning them again, begging them to reconsider. But something stopped her. The way Captain Doyen spoke, he knew exactly what he was facing. He had come anyway. The hour passed in agonizing slowness. The Reaver commander spent it organizing his fleet, positioning his strongest ships to meet the human advance. He sent 3 warnings, each more threatening than the last. The humans ignored all of them. When the hour ended, Captain Doyen's voice came through again. "Your time is up. All civilian ships are advised to maintain distance. Earth forces, weapons free. Execute Battle Plan Alpha." The human carrier hanging back from the main formation suddenly came alive. Hatches opened along its sides. Small craft poured out like insects from a nest. Minji counted over 50 of them. They were tiny, single-pilot vessels that the database called fighters. Most species had abandoned such small attack craft centuries ago. They were considered too fragile, too limited in capability. The Reavers seemed to think the same thing. Their commander laughed again on the open channel. "Are you serious? You brought toys to a real fight?" Then everything happened at once. The Reaver ships opened fire first, as everyone expected. Bright lances of plasma and particle beams crossed the distance between the fleets. The energy weapons struck the leading human ships, and Minji expected to see them torn apart. Instead, the ships kept coming. Their hulls glowed red-hot where the weapons hit, but they did not break. The armor held. The human response was different from any battle Minji had seen before. The smaller ships in front, the destroyers, fired their railguns. The weapons made no visible beam or light, but seconds later, one of the Reaver frigates simply exploded. Something had punched through its shields and hull like they were not even there. The fighters reached the Reaver fleet and chaos erupted. The small human craft were incredibly fast, far more agile than normal ships. They dodged between the larger vessels, firing missiles and automatic cannons. The Reavers tried to target them, but the fighters moved in patterns that seemed random but somehow avoided most of the incoming fire. A voice came through on the fighter command frequency. Minji heard it through the military channels. "This is Flight Leader Jihoon. All wings engage at will. Watch your spacing and remember your training. Make every shot count." The fighters swarmed around a Reaver destroyer, concentrating their fire on its shield generators. Within minutes, the generators failed. Missiles streaked in, finding weak points in the hull. Explosions blossomed along the destroyer's length. Meanwhile, the main human fleet kept advancing. They took hit after hit, their armor blackening and melting in places, but they did not stop. The Reaver commander finally sounded worried. "All ships concentrate fire on the lead vessels. Bring them down." But that was exactly what the humans wanted. While the Reavers focused on the destroyers in front, the frigates behind them launched their own attack. More railgun rounds crossed the distance at incredible speed. Another Reaver ship died, its reactor breaching in a flash of white light. Minji realized what she was seeing. The humans were not trying to win elegantly. They were not trying to minimize damage. They were simply willing to take more punishment than their enemy could give, while delivering devastating strikes in return. It was brutal and direct and nothing like the careful, shield-dependent warfare of coalition navies. A transmission came through from one of the human ships. A woman's voice steady despite the sounds of alarms in the background. Indomitable, this is Commander Hune on the Steadfast. Launching second fighter wave. First wave has taken losses but remains combat effective. Losses. Minji pulled up the fighter status displays that the humans were broadcasting. 8 fighters showed as destroyed or disabled. 8 pilots were dead or dying. But the commander's voice showed no hesitation, no doubt. She was already launching more fighters to join the battle. Captain Doyen responded immediately. Copy that, Steadfast. Continue operations. All ships prepare for close engagement. We are going to knife fighting range. The human fleet accelerated, closing the distance even faster. The Reavers tried to back away, to maintain their preferred fighting distance, but the human destroyers cut off their retreat. The formation had scattered now. It was ship against ship, a chaotic melee that filled the space around Vareth Prime. The indomitable Captain Doyen's heavy cruiser pushed toward the Reaver flagship. Energy weapons scorched its hull. Missiles detonated against its armor. But the ship kept coming, its own weapons blazing. Minji watched in awe as the huge human vessel simply absorbed damage that would have destroyed any coalition ship. A new voice came through the human command channel. Sir, we have hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Fire in the port missile bay. Engineering reports power fluctuations. Captain Doyen's response was calm. Seal the breaches. Flood the missile bay. Route auxiliary power to weapons. We are not stopping. The Indomitable fired all its forward weapons at once. The Reaver flagship's shields collapsed under the barrage. Before it could recover, the human cruiser launched something new. Small pods shot across the gap between the ships. They clamped onto the Reaver flagship's hull and exploded, tearing open the armor. Boarding teams away. Someone reported on the human channel. Marines are go for insertion. Boarding teams. The humans were sending soldiers onto the enemy ship during a space battle. Minji had read about such tactics in historical archives, but no modern navy used them. They were too risky, too brutal, but as she watched, armored human soldiers poured through the breaches in the Reaver flagship, fighting their way inside. The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides were damaged or destroyed. But slowly, inevitably, the Reavers were losing. They had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that refused to die, that turned every disadvantage into an attack, that fought with a ferocity that seemed almost insane. When the Reaver flagship's reactor went critical, gutted from the inside by human Marines, the remaining pirate ships finally broke. They scattered, trying to escape. The human fighters pursued them relentlessly. Some made it to faster-than-light speed and jumped away. Most did not. As the last enemy ship fled the system, Captain Doyen's voice came through one final time. All ships cease fire. Damage reports. Casualty counts. And someone get me a channel to the colony surface. Minji's console chimed. An incoming call. She accepted it with shaking hands. Vareth Prime, this is Captain Doyen. We called for help in the galaxy. Only Earth came. The sun was rising over Vareth Prime when the first human shuttle touched down. Minji stood outside the shelter entrance with dozens of other colonists, watching the craft descend through the smoke-filled sky. It was a bulky, practical-looking vehicle, scarred from battle damage. As its landing gear settled onto the broken ground, a ramp extended from its side. The soldiers who emerged wore heavy armor painted in gray and blue. They moved with weapons ready, scanning the area for threats even though the battle was over. Minji noticed how they positioned themselves to protect the colonists while checking the surrounding buildings. These were people trained for combat, but their first concern was civilian safety. The leader removed his helmet as he approached. He was younger than Minji expected, with tired eyes and a face that had not seen sleep in days. I am Major Taehyung, United Earth Marines. Are you the one who sent the distress call? Minji nodded, finding her voice. Yes, I am, Minji. We are. Grateful does not seem like a strong enough word. The Major's expression softened slightly. You are alive. That is enough. We have medical teams and supplies on the way. Can you provide information about other survivor groups? Over the next hours, more shuttles arrived. Human Marines spread through the colony. clearing buildings and searching for survivors. Medical teams set up emergency treatment stations. Engineers began assessing the damage to critical infrastructure. Everything moved with impressive efficiency. Dr. Yunji was one of the first medical personnel Minji met. The human doctor was setting up equipment outside the shelter, preparing to treat the injured colonists. Her movements were quick and confident despite the primitive conditions. When the first patients arrived, she worked with a focused intensity that reminded Minji of the soldiers. "Your medical technology is different from ours," Minji observed, watching the doctor use tools she did not recognize. Yunji glanced up briefly. "Older, you mean, we know. But it works, and right now that is what matters. Can you help me? I need someone to keep these people calm while I work." Minji found herself assisting, translating between the human doctor and the Villani patients. She watched Yunji treat a child with a severe wound, using techniques that seemed crude compared to coalition medical procedures. But the child stabilized, the pain fading from their face. Results mattered more than elegance. Across the colony, similar scenes were playing out. Human soldiers were distributing food and water from their own supplies. Engineers were working alongside colonist technicians to restore power to damaged sections. When colonists asked about payment or compensation, the humans seemed genuinely confused by the question. "You are the ones who suffered," one soldier told a group of grateful miners. "Why would we charge you for helping?" By afternoon, Captain Doyen arrived on the surface. Minji saw him stepping off a shuttle, moving stiffly. His uniform was clean, but she could see bandages beneath it. He had been wounded in the battle, but came down anyway to see the colony for himself. She approached him as he surveyed the damage. Up close, she could see how exhausted he was. Dark circles under his eyes, lines of stress on his face. This man had risked everything for people he had never met. "Captain Doyen, I wanted to meet you in person, to thank you properly." He turned to her and offered a slight smile. "Minji, your distress call was very thorough. It helped us prepare." "I must ask you something," Minji said carefully. "Why did you come? Earth has no alliance with us, no treaties. You owed us nothing." Doyen was quiet for a moment, looking at the damaged buildings around them. "You asked for help. That seemed like reason enough. But you lost ships. Your people died." "Yes," his voice was heavy. "We lost the destroyers Ranger and Defiant, the frigate Resolute, 147 crew members, 8 fighter pilots. The Indomitable took heavy damage. We will be months in repairs." "I am sorry," Minji whispered. "If we had known the cost, you would have what?" "Not called?" Doyen shook his head. "Those people knew the risks. They volunteered for this mission. Every one of them. We asked who wanted to cross the galaxy to help strangers, and more people volunteered than we had ships for." Minji struggled to understand. "But why? What do you gain?" The captain met her eyes. "We gain the knowledge that we did the right thing. My species has a complicated history, Minji. We have done terrible things to each other. We have fought wars that nearly destroyed us. We know what it means to be helpless and afraid. We know what it means to call for help and hear nothing but silence." He paused. "So when we heard your call, we decided we would not be the ones who stayed silent." Commander Hyun joined them, walking with a slight limp. Her face was drawn with exhaustion, but her eyes were sharp. "Captain, the casualty reports are complete. We are also getting preliminary damage assessments from the fleet." "How bad?" Doyen asked. "We can make it home, but we will need to take it slow. The Indomitable's faster-than-light drive is compromised. We are looking at 40 days' travel instead of the usual 20. Minji realized what that meant. The human fleet was crippled. If another enemy appeared, they would have limited ability to fight or flee. Yet no one seemed panicked. A young pilot approached the group. Minji recognized his voice from the battle communications. Ji-hoon, the fighter leader. He was holding his helmet under one arm, and she could see the exhaustion written on his young face. "Commander Hyun, the fighters are secured. We lost 8 birds in the battle. 4 pilots recovered. 4... He did not finish the sentence. Hyun put a hand on his shoulder. "You did well, Ji-hoon. All of you did. Go get some rest," but Ji-hoon did not leave. He was looking at the colonists moving through the area, at the children being treated by the medical teams, at the families reuniting. "It was worth it," he said quietly. "Wasn't it, Commander?" "Yes," Hyun said firmly. "It was worth it." Over the following days, Minji watched the humans work. She saw Major Taehyung's Marines helping rebuild collapsed structures. using their powered armor to lift debris that would take machines to move. She saw Dr. Yunji working 18-hour shifts, treating injuries without complaint. She saw engineers teaching colonist technicians new techniques for repairing damaged systems. And she saw something else. Friendship forming. A Vellani engineer named Sanghi was working with Jihoon, helping repair one of his damaged fighters. The two were laughing together despite the language difficulties, finding ways to communicate through gestures and shared diagrams. Children who had been terrified days ago were now playing near the human marine positions, feeling safe for the first time since the attack. One evening, Minji sat with Captain Doyen outside the medical station. The captain was checking reports on a portable computer, but he seemed willing to talk. "Your people are remarkable," Minji said. "You fight like demons but treat the wounded with such gentleness." Doyen looked up from his screen. "We learned that we have to be both, strong enough to protect those who need it, gentle enough to be worth protecting." "The galaxy is not used to this," Minji admitted. "Most species separate their warriors from their caregivers. You seem to be both at once." "Maybe that is our advantage," Doyen suggested. "We have not forgotten that soldiers are still people, that warriors can be compassionate, that strength and kindness are not opposites." Minji pulled up her data tablet. "I have been researching Earth. Your history is violent. Wars that killed millions, weapons that could destroy entire cities. How did you go from that to this?" The captain was silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke, his voice distant. "We almost destroyed ourselves. Several times. We came so close to the end that we could see it clearly. And we decided we did not want to be that species anymore. We wanted to be better. It has not been easy. We still struggle with it. But when we reached the stars and found other life, we promised ourselves we would not bring our old darkness with us." "You brought something else instead," Minji said. "You brought hope." News of the battle was spreading through galactic communication networks. Minji received messages from coalition officials, finally expressing concern now that the situation was resolved. Some praised Earth's intervention. Others seemed worried about the precedent it set. If a minor species like humanity could act unilaterally, what did that mean for established power structures? She composed her own report, struggling to find words that captured what she had witnessed. The bravery was easy to describe. The tactical details were straightforward. But how did she explain the feeling in the shelter when Captain Doyun's voice first came through? How did she capture the moment when colonists realized these strangers had crossed the galaxy for them? A week after the battle, the human fleet prepared to depart. Repairs were complete enough for the journey home. The colony was stable. Coalition forces had finally arrived, along with news media and political observers. Everyone wanted to see what Earth had done. At the departure ceremony, hundreds of colonists gathered to say goodbye. Children had made drawings for the human soldiers. Adults offered gifts of precious minerals and crafted goods. The humans accepted them with awkward gratitude, clearly uncomfortable with the attention. Captain Doyen gave a brief speech, translated into a dozen languages. "We did what anyone should have done. We hope that next time someone calls for help, they will not have to wait for Earth. We called for help in the galaxy. Only Earth came. 3 months had passed since the battle at Verith Prime." Minji sat in her temporary office at the Coalition headquarters on Valara, the diplomatic heart of known space. Outside her window, ships from 100 worlds came and went, carrying diplomats and traders between the stars. But today, everything felt different. She was writing a report that would be read by every member of the Galactic Council. Her fingers moved across the data tablet, choosing each word with care. The title stared back at her, The Human Paradox. A species too dangerous to ignore, too noble to fear. The door chimed. Sanghi entered, carrying a stack of data chips. The young engineer had become her assistant after the rescue, following her to Valara when she was promoted to Special Envoy. He still wore Jihoon's fighter squadron patch on his uniform. "More responses to your preliminary report," Sanghi said, placing the chips on her desk. "Some are not happy with what you wrote." Minji was not surprised. Her initial report had been blunt. She had described how the coalition's governments had debated and delayed while colonists died. She had contrasted that with Earth's immediate response. Some officials found her words offensive. "Good. They should be offended. What about the public reaction?" she asked. Sanghi pulled up his own tablet. "It is spreading across the network. Your report has been downloaded 40 million times in the last week. There are protests on 6 coalition worlds. Citizens are demanding to know why their governments did nothing while humans fought and died for strangers. On his screen, Minji could see footage from various worlds, crowds gathering in public squares, signs demanding action, faces of every species united in shame and anger. The silence that had greeted Vareth Prime's distress call was now being broken by voices raised in outrage. She turned back to her report, reading through the sections she had written about individual humans. Captain Doyen's calm determination, Dr. Yunji's tireless work in the medical stations, Major Taehyung's Marines who had rebuilt the colony while still bleeding from their own wounds. She had tried to make them real for her readers, not just statistics but people who had chosen to be heroes. Her communication console activated, an incoming call from an unfamiliar address. She accepted it and found herself looking at a human woman in a formal diplomatic uniform. Envoy Minji, I am Ambassador Myung of Earth's delegation to the Galactic Council. I wanted to thank you for your report. It has been very helpful. Helpful how? Minji asked carefully. Myung smiled. Earth has received 17 formal requests for defense pacts in the last month. 43 species want to open diplomatic relations. 3 major governments have asked us to train their rapid response forces. Your report made them realize that maybe there is value in being able to answer a distress call. I simply wrote the truth. The truth is more powerful than you know, Myung said. The galaxy is changing. People are asking questions they should have asked a long time ago. Why do we have mutual defense treaties that no one defends? Why do we have emergency response protocols that take weeks to activate? You started something important. After the call ended, Minji thought about those words. Started something. She had only written about what happened, but maybe that was enough. Maybe the truth was a spark that could light fires across the galaxy. Her console chimed again. This time it was news from the frontier. Another distress call had been broadcast from a mining station in the outer reaches. Pirates were attacking, and this time the response was different. Earth was sending ships, but they were not alone. 2 other species had also dispatched naval forces. The Coalition Council had bypassed its usual procedures and authorized immediate action. It was happening. The galaxy was learning. On Earth, in the headquarters of Earth Space Intelligence, Officer Jiwon was following a different thread. She sat surrounded by holographic displays showing financial records, ship manifests, and communication intercepts. Her team had been investigating the Crimson Reavers for months, trying to understand who had funded them. The answer was disturbing. We have confirmed it, she told her superior officer. The Kolthari Syndicate provided the Reavers with their weapons and ships. They have been funding pirate operations across the frontier for years. Her superior, an older man with gray hair, studied the evidence. Why would a legitimate corporate power back pirates? Instability, Jiwon said. Pirates create problems. Governments pay the syndicate for security solutions. They sell weapons to fight the very threats they created. It is a perfect business model. Profitable and impossible to trace. Until now. Until now, Jiwon agreed. The Reavers were supposed to hit isolated targets that no one cared about. But Vareth Prime was different. The humans came. The battle was public. Now we can trace the weapons back to their source. What do we do with this information? Jiwon considered the question. We share it. Let the galaxy know who profits from their suffering. Let them decide what to do about it. The report went out through proper channels. Within days, the Kolthari Syndicate found itself under investigation by multiple governments. Trade deals were suspended. Assets were frozen. The comfortable arrangement where they created problems and sold solutions was falling apart. Back on Vareth Prime, reconstruction was nearly complete. The colony looked different now. New buildings stood where old ones had been destroyed. But more than the physical structures had changed. The colonists had changed. Sanghi visited his home colony during a work break. He walked through the rebuilt streets and saw memorials to those who had died. But he also saw something else. New defense systems being installed. Colonists training in emergency response procedures. A small military garrison that had not existed before. The colony had been helpless once. It would never be helpless again. He met with former neighbors in a reconstructed community center. The conversation turned to Earth as it always did. I still do not understand them, one miner said. They lost so many people saving us. For what? Sanghi touched the fighter squadron patch on his uniform. Jihoon told me something before he left. He said humans have a saying, The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. They refuse to be the people who do nothing. But at such cost, another colonist said. We heard the Indomitable is still being repaired. It will be months before it is combat ready again. And when it is ready, Sanghi said, they will probably fly it to help someone else who needs it. That is who they are. On distant Earth, Captain Doyen stood in a shipyard orbiting the moon. Before him, the Indomitable hung in its repair dock, surrounded by construction equipment and work crews. The damage from Vareth Prime was being slowly erased. New armor plates covered the scars. Repaired systems hummed back to life. Commander Hyun joined him at the observation window. Her limp was barely noticeable now, healing almost complete. The engineers say we will be ready for space trials in 2 weeks. Good, Doyen said. There is talk of another distress call. A transport convoy under attack. The local authorities are responding, but they asked if we could provide support. Hyun nodded. The crew is eager to get back out there. Ji-hoon has been training the new fighter pilots. He is a good instructor. He understands what needs to be done. Doyen was quiet for a moment, looking at his ship. Do you think we did the right thing at Vareth Prime? We saved 8,000 lives. How could that be wrong? We lost 147 people doing it. Sometimes I wonder if we had the right to ask them to take that risk. Hyun turned to face him directly. We did not ask them. They volunteered. Every single one. And if you put out a call tomorrow asking who wants to do it again, you would have more volunteers than you could use. Our people understand something that maybe the galaxy is just learning. That living means standing up when others need you. That being safe while others suffer is not really being safe at all. In the rebuilt conference rooms of the Galactic Council, debates raged. Some officials wanted to integrate Earth more fully into galactic institutions. Others feared that human interventionism would destabilize established power structures. Everyone had opinions about what Earth's actions meant. Ambassador Myung sat through these debates with patient attention. She listened to species that had refused to help Vareth Prime now arguing about the proper protocols for intervention. She heard governments that had done nothing now lecturing Earth about responsibility. Finally, during one particularly heated session, she asked for the floor. The chamber fell silent as she stood. I have listened to 3 hours of debate about what Earth should or should not do, about rules and protocols and proper procedures, but I have not heard anyone address the simple question that started all of this. When someone calls for help, do you answer? Not next month. Not after proper authorization. Not when it is convenient. Do you answer? The chamber remained silent. Myung continued. Earth answered. We did not ask permission. We did not wait for consensus. We heard people suffering and we went. Many of you have criticized this. You say we were reckless, that we acted outside established norms, and you are right, we did, because your established norms mean that people die while you debate. A representative from the Theris Empire stood. Ambassador, you cannot simply ignore interstellar law. There are reasons for these procedures. We called for help in the galaxy. Only Earth came 6 months had passed since Vareth Prime. Captain Doyen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching stars slide past in the distorted view of faster-than-light travel. His ship was fully repaired now, stronger than before. New armor plating. Upgraded systems. But the same crew, minus the 147 empty spaces that would never be filled. Captain, we are approaching the target system. Lieutenant Sumin reported from the tactical station, dropping to normal space in 3 minutes. Doyen nodded, studying the mission briefing one more time. A colony transport convoy under attack by raiders. The local authorities had responded but were outnumbered. They had asked for help. This time, Earth was not the only one who answered. The Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light speed and Doyen's tactical display lit up with contacts. The raider fleet was there, 6 ships harassing a group of civilian transports. But other vessels had arrived too. A Velani cruiser, 2 Theris destroyers, a Korthan frigate, 5 ships from 4 different species all responding to the same distress call. This is Captain Doyen to all responding vessels. Suggest we form a coordinated attack. Velani cruiser, you have command. We will support. There was a pause. Then the Velani captain responded, surprise clear in his voice. Earth ship offers support instead of command. This is unexpected. We came to help, not to lead, Doyen said. Let us work together. The battle was brief. 6 raider ships against 6 military vessels was not a fair fight. The raiders scattered after losing 2 ships, fleeing into faster-than-light speed. The convoy was safe. Not a single shot had been fired at the civilian transports. After securing the area, the Volani captain opened a direct channel to the Indomitable. "Captain Doyen, we must speak." "I'm Captain Wujin. I was at Vareth Prime. My ship was held back by the Council, ordered to wait for proper authorization. By the time we arrived, you had already won the battle and were leaving." "You came eventually," Doyen said. "That is what matters." "No." Wujin's voice was firm. "What matters is that we should have come immediately. I have carried that shame for 6 months. Today, when the distress call came, I did not wait for authorization. I simply came, because of what you showed us at Vareth Prime." On Earth, in the Global Military Command Center, Admiral Bowman reviewed reports from across human space. She was a veteran of the Mars conflicts, an older woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much war. But today, the reports made her smile. Her aide, a young officer, stood at attention. "Admiral, we have confirmation. The convoy rescue was successful. Joint operation with 4 coalition species. 0 casualties among the responding forces or the civilians." "And the Earth Space Navy's role?" Bowman asked. "Support and coordination." The Volani captain commanded the operation. "Our ships provided tactical assistance and fighter cover." Bowman nodded with satisfaction. "Good. We are not trying to be the galaxy's heroes. We are trying to show them how to be their own heroes." In a training facility orbiting Mars, Jihoon was teaching a class of 30 pilots from 6 different species. Today's lesson was combat maneuvering in close quarters. The students struggled with the aggressive tactics that human pilots learned early. They were used to maintaining distance, relying on shields and careful positioning. "You must get closer," Jihoon called over the training network. "Your shields will fail eventually. Your armor must be able to take hits. Your weapons must work at knife range." Now again from the top. One student, a Korthan pilot named Minseo, broke formation and dove toward the simulated enemy. She flew recklessly, taking hits, but her simulated weapons found their target. The enemy ship in the simulation exploded. "Good," Jihoon said. "That was brave. Risky, but brave. Remember, courage without calculation is just waste. Calculate your risks, then take them anyway. That is the human way." After the training session, Minseo approached him in the briefing room. She was young, her face marked with the patterns of her species. "Instructor Jihoon, I have a question. Why do humans teach us to fly like you? We have our own tactics." "And your tactics failed at Vareth Prime," Jihoon said gently. "Your ship stayed far away. Your pilots were too careful. The raiders exploited that. We teach you our way because it works. But more than that, we teach you to be willing to risk yourself for others. That is the real lesson." On Valara, Minji's office had become a center of activity. She was now heading a new initiative called the Rapid Response Coalition. 12 species had signed up, committing ships and resources to a joint force that could answer distress calls without waiting for political authorization. Sanghi managed the communication networks, coordinating between different military commands. His screens showed the real-time positions of every ship in the coalition. When a distress call came through, he could see who was closest and coordinate the response within minutes instead of weeks. "We have another situation," Sanghi said, highlighting a sector on the map. "Pirate activity reported near the shipping lanes. 3 cargo vessels requesting assistance." Minji checked the response board. 4 ships were in range. 2 human frigates, 1 Volani destroyer, and 1 Theris patrol ship. "Dispatch them." Joint command protocol. Humans and Volani share tactical coordination. She watched as the ships changed course, moving to intercept. 6 months ago, this would have taken days of committee meetings and authorization requests. Now it took minutes. The galaxy was learning, but not everyone was happy about the changes. In a secure conference room, representatives from the Kolthari Syndicate met with several government officials who had profited from the old system. Their operations were failing. The pirates they funded were being caught. The instability they manufactured was being resolved. "This cannot continue," one syndicate executive said. "Earth has disrupted the entire frontier economy. We need to take action." But the officials were nervous. Action against Earth? They defeated the Crimson Reavers. They have allies now. What do you propose? "We make them the problem," another executive suggested. "Spread information that Earth is becoming aggressive, expansionist. Make other species fear them instead of admire them." Officer Jiwan, monitoring their communications from Earth Intelligence Headquarters, recorded every word. Let them try, she thought. The truth was stronger than their lies. 3 months later, the Koltari Syndicate launched their campaign. News networks across the galaxy suddenly carried stories questioning Earth's motives. Why were humans so eager to fight? Were they building an empire? Should other species trust warriors who were so comfortable with violence? Some believed it. Fear was easier than change. But more people remembered Vareth Prime. They remembered humans who had died for strangers. They remembered Dr. Yunji working herself to exhaustion treating alien patients. They remembered Captain Doyen offering support instead of command. Ambassador Miyung addressed the concerns in a public statement broadcast across galactic networks. She stood at a podium, surrounded by representatives from the Rapid Response Coalition. Earth has been accused of many things in recent months, she said. Aggression. Hidden motives. Empire building. I want to address these concerns directly. Earth has participated in 17 rescue operations in the last 6 months. We have lost 23 personnel in these operations. We have spent enormous resources. And what have we gained? No territory. No trade concessions. No political power. We have gained only one thing, the knowledge that when people needed help, we were there. She paused, looking directly into the camera. If that makes us dangerous, then yes, we are dangerous. Dangerous to those who profit from suffering. Dangerous to those who would rather debate than act. Dangerous to anyone who thinks that the weak should be left to face the strong alone. If standing up for others makes us a threat, then we embrace that threat gladly. The speech went viral across the networks. Public opinion turned sharply against the Syndicate's campaign. Within weeks, the Koltari Syndicate faced criminal investigations from multiple governments. Several executives were arrested. Their carefully constructed business model collapsed. On the Indomitable, now serving as the flagship of the 2nd Expeditionary Fleet, Captain Doyen received a transmission from Admiral Bauman. Her face appeared on his screen, looking pleased. Doyen, I have news. The Galactic Council has officially recognized Earth's expeditionary fleets as authorized peacekeeping forces. We have been granted the same status as coalition military units. That means legal protection, logistical support, and formal cooperation agreements. That is good news, Admiral. It means we can work more effectively with other species. It means more than that, Bowman said. It means the galaxy has changed its mind about help. 6 months ago, intervention was controversial. Now it is policy. You started that at Vareth Prime. After the call ended, Doyen walked through his ship's corridors. He passed the memorial wall where the names of the fallen were inscribed. 147 names from Vareth Prime, 23 more from subsequent operations. Each one a person who had chosen to stand between the helpless and harm. Commander Hyun found him there. She had her own ritual of visiting the memorial. Do you ever regret it? She asked quietly. Answering that first distress call? Doyen considered the question.